Welcome to Keep Going, a podcast about failure and success, hosted by John Biggs. Every week, we talk to an amazing person about a time they failed and what they learned. And remember, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Welcome back to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. Today on the show we have Lasse Finderup from Good Tape. You're the CEO, co-founder over there, right?
Yes.
Or the only, yeah. And first I wanted you to pitch your startup, but you also say that you have lots of good failures to tell us about. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to pitch first, and then you can tell me all about all the horrible things that happened to you over the years.
Sounds good. Yeah, so GoodTape is an AI transcription tool built with a focus on data privacy and data security. Co-founded and run out of Denmark. Everything we do is self-hosted within the EU. So basically all of our users can be sure that no data will ever leave the European Union. We built on an open source piece of software called Whisper, but we've sort of built the entire stack ourselves, and we're a spin-out out of a digital newspaper called Zetland. So we're born out of the need and born because we listened to all these journalists basically complaining that they hated transcribing and they were spending way too many hours doing it. So we hacked together a tool and they went crazy over it. And then they said, you should give this to other people as well. And then now we have 2.5 million users in every nation in the world except North Korea. But we'll get North Korea at some point.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't think they need to transcribe very much. That's all. No matter everything's recorded anyway. So, all right, very cool. So this idea came out of a like a side project, right? For at another organization.
Yeah. So it was the idea of a guy sitting in their IT team. So he's the best version of a nerd that you can imagine. He's like deep. He spends his Saturday night looking at GitHub, what's new. So when journalists were saying, "Fuck it, this is the worst part of my life," he was like, "Oh, I think I saw something a few weeks back that I might be able to hack together," and then did so.
Yeah. Well, I did a cheap transcription back before anybody noticed that transcription was basically cheap.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Yeah, we used the AWS. We used Amazon stuff, which worked perfectly fine. All right, very cool. So this one's going well. You have 2+ million users. Tell me about some of the times when things weren't going well.
Well, it's actually it has been going quite well with GoodTape. I've done a lot of stupid things in the past with former startups. GoodTape, we've done a lot of things right. So most of my failure stories are from the past. We have, of course, done some things where we prioritized wrongly in terms of what way are we going with the technology and why. But I do really think that we've done most things correct with GoodTape. It's sort of not to, like in Danish, there's a saying to polish the thing that angels has on top of
polish
their
the halo.
Yeah, polish the halo. But I do really think that like with GoodTip, we've done most things correct. I used to be in the travel industry, which like I founded that company in 2019 and went full time in February 2020. So 3 weeks before COVID, and then and that was the first company I started. So I didn't really have any idea how to do anything to begin with. And then suddenly there's a pandemic also then shuffling everything up. And I'm younger than I look. So at that time, it was like a little teenager having to sort of carry the entire world on top of his shoulders.
How was that experience? I mean, there's a lot of younger entrepreneurs, and especially in the travel industry, there's a lot of folks who say like, I want to make something so my friends and I can like make an app to like, I don't know, connect on vacation or something it's almost like a cliche that VCs hear, and I've heard it countless times. How did it feel to be to be a young entrepreneur working in a market that's essentially entrenched, that hasn't changed since Sabre, really?
Yeah, and that was partly the reason I wanted to do something there, and I think also a part of the reason why, like I've had a lot of people reach out to me later, basically saying, "Hey, we're trying to do this. Seems like you did it. It went well, and then it didn't go well. What happened?" And I will say the pandemic changed a lot of industries, but I don't think it changed an industry as much as it changed the travel industry. I don't see it recovering in the next decade. Everything was switched up. I actually tried to build like sort of a traditional travel company. So I wasn't doing all sorts of cool tech and let's build an app to connect or anything of that sort. So I want to build a company. It doesn't have to be fancy. I don't want to do venture. And that also speaks a lot into how we've done things at GoodTape now. I want to build a proper company that just has good metrics and just works. And it went really well. Like it started being a travel agency where I sold other people's stuff, and then it transitioned over to being travel packages that I had to plan myself. So very traditional, very very conservative, but on a cool mission. But it's fun that how big of an effect the learnings from the travel industry has had on how we do things in Good Shape, which is like the way other side of the spectrum of what can you do as a startup. One is a service, another is a software tool.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that idea of B to C is difficult. I mean, the travel industry is the ultimate B to C. You're basically dealing with the consumer who's going to be on you 24/7, because if they get trapped somewhere in, I don't know, Rome, then it's your fault. It's not anybody else's fault. It's not the airline's fault. It's not the hotel's fault. It's not anybody. It's your fault 100%.
Yeah.
Whereas now actually, to a degree, you're kind of in the same boat, because if you're transcribing something wrong and nobody can really tell, you're kind of stuck there. What did you learn from interacting with the B to humans in the travel world that you've taken into the new startup?
Well, first of all, yes, I agree. Like the amount of human interaction you have in the travel industry is insane. Like I was the last man in the team at all times. Like if someone wasn't picked up in the outback in Australia, they call me in the middle of the night saying, "Where's my pickup?" So what we've done in Good Save is we've sort of maintained a focus on the core value. Basically, and we're still doing it. We can do a bunch of features, and it's really easy to do a bunch of features when we talk AI. I can do a new feature until Monday, but we're just sticking to the main core value, which is the accuracy of the transcription we provide. Basically, whenever there is some sort of return on investment to be made on investing time into the accuracy and quality of the transcription, we'll do that rather than any features and all sorts of cool things that might look cool in a pricing drawer, but then at the end of the day, it's the quality of the product you get.
Interesting. What's the best advice for people who might need to pivot? It looks like you pivoted quite a bit from travel to this other product. It's
actually it's been quite a weird learning to have, because I went into travel because I was passionate and I love travel. Like I love the product, or whatever we call travel, the service, the experience. So the fuel I had there was very personal, but it's not like I'm very excited about transcriptions. Like it's actually really, can I swear? It's really boring.
That's not even swearing.
No, it's
really fucking boring. I gotcha. Yeah.
It's like a transition. When I came from the travel industry and then was looking into potentially AI transcription tool, I was like, this is so damn boring that I can't even, what would fuel me? But it's actually been really nice, and it's been good for the company that it wasn't my personal passion that fueled what we're doing. It's a more objective passion. Like it's a passion for the growth, and it's a passion for the numbers and the metrics and optimizing that, rather than, I need the users to have the same experience that I had 5 years ago, something. So it becomes a more professional drive, it's difficult to tell new founders to say, don't go for something you're passionate about, but go for something where you'd be passionate about growing it rather than necessarily the product itself, especially in terms of getting overworked and maintaining your own work-life balance. It's a lot easier if you're not.
I think that's an important consideration. Like what you're saying is like, look, this is what I say to startups all the time. You basically, your first day needs to be the day that you bring in $5. The next day you bring in $10, $20, whatever. It should grow exponentially, but the first day you need to bring in money. A business is a business. You're not building a fun product to show off. You're not building a GitHub you're not building to get GitHub stars. You're building to get $5 or €5. And if you're not doing that, you're basically failing for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, and we're bootstrapped. Like we've been bootstrapped all the way through, and it was for a mix of reasons. And I've been very recently in a few media outlets about this topic, but it was for a few reasons that we very proactively decided to stay bootstrapped, because it was the sense of, just as you say, like we want to build a company that makes $5 today and then 10 tomorrow and then 20 the day after, rather than we want to build a company where we incinerate a bunch of cash in the hopes that at some point we might make $5 and then $10 and then $20. So starting from, like, it's a real business. It's part of like our core value from the beginning.
Yeah. When you talk to entrepreneurs who are in the same boat, what would you say to them if they said, I don't want to do a SaaS business. I want to make a business that cures cancer, as opposed to a business that makes a person's life with cancer slightly better?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. Yeah, well, I guess it depends, because if you're in it to solve a human problem or to make lives better, that'll be your drive, rather than I want to make a lot of money. or I want to scale this to a well-known brand. And I do think there's two different types of founders, especially when you're looking at an impact founder and then you look at me. Like I don't want to be called an impact founder because we're not at all an impact startup. And it's not very popular to say we're not an impact startup, but it's very popular to say the other thing. But it's just to say there are two different drives. But for me, it's been really nice to go from the passion driven, because it's very much something you have to find internally and then spend some of that battery. Whereas the other thing is you're sort of spending another battery and then you're getting the yield in some way. But it's still like an ongoing reflection for me, just to find what's the right driver in what cases, sort of.
Interesting. What's the market like in Europe right now, especially for startups? Sounds like you might be getting a lot smarter people coming back to Europe after being kicked out of here. That's one thing. But how's the funding world? How's the market in general?
Interesting you ask now. Like if you'd asked me, well, yeah, you're asking because it's an interesting time to ask. I do see, if you'd asked me 3 months ago, how many inbound VC requests have you had? I would have said I can count that on one hand. And now I can't count it on 2 or 4. It's definitely changing just because of stability. And I can also see that other successful European companies are drawing the attention even from American VCs. I can hear when I'm in the dialogues with the VCs how they're name dropping some companies and they're like, oh yeah, okay, there's also this European company. And I'm like, yeah, they're Swedish. And they're like, oh, okay. And you're Danish? Yeah, we're Danish. So people get sort of enticed by the non-American of the companies at the moment, it seems like.
Okay, very cool. All right, so what's next for Good Tape?
More of what we're doing. I feel like we're at a point now where the return on investment, if we invest time into the accuracy part of the product, is not so high anymore, meaning that we're fulfilling that part. So now we're going to start looking at what happens after, because we hear a lot of users saying, I get my transcription and then I put it into ChatGPT and then I work with it there. But a lot of the European users and customers can't compliantly use ChatGPT just because of GDPR. So we like, part of our core value prop is data privacy and data security. So basically saying, hey, why don't we provide you a compliant way of doing this? So we're hosting our own large language model now, based on, I think it's Llama v3 now, to basically supply our customers with the value they would get out of putting it into ChatGPT. And when you do that, the world opens up of opportunities and features you can supply.
How do you manage a startup that doesn't have a huge moat? I mean, you just described 2 technologies, open source technologies, Whisper, Llama, that anybody can use. Like I said before, I started cheap transcription because I understood that AWS gave me transcription for like pennies. Yep. Whereas if you went to, I don't know, Descript or one of these other sites, it was like, you have Otter, for example, you have to pay like $50 a month or something ridiculous. And I knew I could do it for $1. Yep. But obviously I didn't put enough marketing into it. I didn't build out the startup big enough, and I really didn't care. It wasn't that big a deal. It was just me messing around. But how do you keep somebody else from like taking away those customers who are looking at you as just another transcription service?
I think actually my answer is weird, because I think we're going to win from the stuff that we don't do. Like I saw one of our competitors, I won't name any names, but one of our competitors today launched 200 AI agents. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But from a user perspective, I would just be like, where do I start? What should I use it for? Why 200? Why not just one for the need I have? And it's basically, you can see it from our product. Like we just have one button, and we have one button on the front page, very much inspired by WeTransfer. So I do think like the value of maintaining your focus on the core value and not adding all this fluff. Now you can do this and now you can do this. It just becomes a weight on the user to be like, oh, how am I going to use that? How can I get value out of this feature that sounds cool? And then we're actually we're taking like a B2C approach. We are a B2B tool, but we're taking a B2C approach to branding. So we really want to build a moat using branding and building like a storytelling. I don't see a lot of startups, especially AI startups, investing into like the human part of the story. Very, very product focused. It's like, wow, I could do all of these things and now we can do this and wow. And it's like, yeah, who, why, and where from, and for who, and who are you? So taking a little bit of an old school approach, showing our faces a lot, Also because it has to be like we're playing a lot on data security, so you have to feel safe. And then it's nice to know who's behind it. And we never touch any data and we never train on any data. Whereas if you look into some of our competitors' terms of service, in the bottom, it says, oh, by the way, we train on all your data. Even if you delete all your data, we'll have stored it and we'll keep training on it. Yeah. So like a good, safe, simple feeling is really valuable now.
It's actually interesting to see. Like I think you only have 9 people on staff. It's just 9 folks, which is fascinating that you built this out. You got millions of people using it, but it's basically just 9 folks just sitting there. Do you want this to expand? Do you want this to blow up, or what's your vision for the company in 5 years, let's say?
If you ask me in 2 months, I can tell you, because I am in the middle of deciding where to take it. Because there's something cool in not going full throttle. Like it feels like that's the outlier now. But then there's, of course, always the devil on the shoulder saying, your ratios are really good. You should go faster. So I'm in the middle of deciding, do we go full throttle or do we go build safe? Do we do we go Ferrari or do we go Volvo? Basically, if that makes sense.
What's part of that? What does that decision-making process look like?
It's something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. It's basically the opportunity cost of the 2 scenarios, because there's a cost of taking on VC, for example, but there's definitely also an opportunity cost of not doing it. Like a missed potential, but there's also the thing of sometimes your strategy, it both comes from within, but also from outside. Whereas if I say, oh, we're going to stay bootstrapped, and then every other competitor says, oh, we'll raise $100 million, it's going to be pretty hard to stay bootstrapped and keep your growth. So that's basically what I'm looking at the moment. What are the different data points coming in?
Well, that's actually an interesting point, because you're basically saying you are allowing other competitors to define your strategy. And if they have $2 billion, you need $2 billion.
Because they're defining, if enough money is poured into an industry, that defines the market dynamic. And you can't sort of just stay ignorant to the market dynamic because you think it's cool to stay bootstrapped, if you know what I mean. So you constantly have to be aware. And if you'd asked me this a year ago, I would have said, no, I don't want to look at how much money our competitors are raising. But I can also see when a competitor raised money, now I can see it in my auction insights on Google Ads that they're bidding higher. So now I have to bid higher, but I have to maintain this ratio to stay bootstrapped. But I can't if they're like, so you sort of have to be aware of that. Yeah.
If you weren't doing this, what else would you be doing?
Something similar. Someone asked me the other day, what would you do if you won the lottery? And I would do the exact same thing, because it's so much fun. Like it is just so much fun. And particularly with AI and like comparing, if like to talk failures, comparing to previous experiences of building service and building in travel. As a technology is really complex, but it makes building a company simple. Because you can test things out really fast. You can build simple really fast, and you can make decisions faster because you can get feedback faster. So I would do the same thing, probably still with AI, because I do still think we're in the golden era. And I do, like, if someone were to pay me for ideas, I do have like an idea bank of stuff that someone could do and utilize the same playbook that we have. But I would probably do the same with the same people.
Interesting. Especially. Very cool. All right. Well, the website is goodtape. Goodtape.io. You can check it out. The front page, basically, you upload something and it'll transcribe it, which sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and we won't ask for any email, any information. I don't know any other website that won't ask for anything before giving. But we do.
Fascinating. All right. Well, Lasse, thank you for joining us. This has been great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This has been Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. Remember, Keep Going is entirely listener-supported. If you're listening to this, please head over to keepgoingpod.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast for as little as $5 a month. This is a labor of love, and every little bit helps. Thanks for listening.